Hello guys, and welcome back to another monthly reading wrap-up video. We are going to be talking about my February reads, so all the books I read in February, what I rated them, what I thought about them, if I recommend them, and then we are also going to be talking about my March. I'm calling this hopefuls instead of TBR because sometimes when I put a TBR out there, which means to be read, so the books that I'm going to read in that whatever period of time, I always stray from that because I'm very much a mood reader. So these are my February reading wrap up and reviews and March hopefuls, not TBR, kind of both. So if you didn't know, I read all pink books in the month of February and it was so much fun to all read pink books. They are so pretty all together. There was some doozies in this, and I'm just gonna preface that because I don't want you guys to be unprepared for some of the things that I have to say about some of these books. But there were also some little surprises of books that I liked more than I thought I would, so there was kind of a balance of good and evil. But let's just hop right into it. The first book that I read for the month of February was The No-Show by Beth O'Leary, and I actually annotated this book and I have a full video of me annotating it. It was the first book I ever annotated, so if you want to see my process of annotating my first book, go watch that video because it was very fun. And I'm really glad that I chose this book to annotate because I was very surprised about how much I actually did like this. I gave this 4 stars and it was my first Beth O'Leary book. So basically this is about a guy and it is Valentine's Day, but it kind of goes from different Valentine's Days of different years, and I kind of thought that this was going to be a fluffy romance, which part of it is, but it ended up being a lot deeper than I was anticipating, and that's why I really liked this book. So it's on Valentine's Day of different years, and he ends up standing up 3 different women. So you kind of get the 3 different women's point of views and their stories, and you like hate this guy, okay, because he stands them up on Valentine's Day. But then you kind of see how their stories are connecting, and I don't want to give any more away, but I really enjoyed reading this. I do think that you could read this any time of year because, of course, it happened on Valentine's Day, but it also took place over a period of time, so it wasn't just on Valentine's Day and it wasn't too mushy love related, if that makes sense. So I think you could read this any time of year. The next book that I read I would suggest reading around Valentine's Day in February is The Do-Over by Lynn Painter. I gave this one a 4 stars as well. I love Lynn Painter. I read Better Than the Movies and gave it 5 stars. I loved that book so much. I really like YA books. I like YA fantasy, YA romance. I feel like it's just because when I read a YA book, I don't really have to worry about much of the context in it, of whether it's going to kind of rub me wrong or too much of one thing or another. I feel like it's just going to be a good story and it makes me feel young at heart. So this was a fluffy little romance, but I really enjoyed it. This is about kind of a loop of Valentine's Day, and I have read one kind of Groundhog's Day book, and it was by Christina Lauren, which I love them, but I didn't like In a Holidays. That's the one I read, and I really did not like that one. So I was a little bit worried about this one, but it was Lynn Painter, so I was like, maybe she can do it a little bit better, and she did. I really enjoyed this book. I loved the chemistry between the 2 main characters. What are their names? Emily and Nick. Those are the 2 main characters. This was just a really cute book, and the cover is so cute. And also look at it without the paper. So freaking cute. That is one I really suggest reading around February because it had a lot to do with Valentine's Day and reliving it over and over, and things that go on Valentine's Day and just love, and it was a really fun read. The next book that I read, I wanted to read a thriller within the mix of this because I didn't want to get too bored with romances, so I read Lock Every Door by Riley Sager. This was my first Riley Sager book and I did enjoy this one. I think on Goodreads I gave it a 4 stars, which after I reflect back after reading a book, sometimes they change and you also can't give half stars, and I try not to give half stars, but I really want to give this like a 3.5 stars. I really enjoyed this one, but it got a little weird at the end, so I think that's why I gave it a 3.5 stars. But this is about a young woman and she isn't really doing the best in life. She just got out of a relationship and he was cheating on her, and now she has no place to live and she has no job. So she ends up seeing this ad in the newspaper that there is a really famous, kind of historically famous hotel that is looking for basically like an apartment sitter while the person who lives in that apartment has now passed away, and so they just want someone to live there until they fill in that role of the next tenant. And of course a lot of creepy things start going on within that apartment building, and it was a really good idea, and it also takes place in New York, which I love when books do that because I've been there now, so I feel like I can relate a little bit. This was a good good mystery. The only reason why I, again, gave it 3.5 stars is because towards the end, kind of the reveal of a lot of things, it was a little bit weird to me, but I still enjoyed it and I still needed to know what happened. So I do suggest this one, but just with a little bit of a warning that it does get a little bit dark. A little bit darker than I was anticipating, but I really want to read more of his books because I did enjoy his writing. The next book that I read is A Court of Wings and Ruin by Sarah J. Maas. And yes, this is a hunker. It was 700 pages. I knew that this one would keep me from being able to read more books in the month, and it did a little bit, but I still was able to pretty much read what I wanted to read this month. But this is the third book in the A Court of Thorns and Roses series, and I really liked this. I gave this one 4 stars. I gave the first and second book 5 stars, so I love this series so much. The only reason why I gave this one 4 stars is because I feel like, I don't know why, because there was a lot going on which I enjoyed, and this one is about war, obviously, so it's a lot about strategizing and planning, and you're learning a lot of new characters in different places, and it was very entertaining. But I feel like, I don't know, it was 700 pages of planning for war, and then there was the war, and so that was interesting. But I feel like I just connected with the first 2 books on a different level a little bit more. But I really did like this, and I'm excited to continue on with the series. The next pink book that I read in the month of February is the doozy, okay? Well, there's 2, but this is the main one, okay? Love on the Brain by Ali Hazelwood. This is my first Ali Hazelwood book. I have not read The Love Hypothesis, and I have heard that people like The Love Hypothesis more. But I don't know if I can pick up another Ali Hazelwood book, okay? No shame to her, but I give this a 1 star. I don't think I've ever given a book a 1 star, okay? I had to force myself to finish this and not DNF it. And the only reason why I didn't DNF it is because I wanted to see how she wrapped up the book, the characters, the plot. And also because I was already like more than halfway through when I was literally like, I can't do this anymore. So I wanted to just go ahead and finish it. I was cringing throughout this whole book, okay? And I like a little cheese. I like YA stuff. I like a little cringy. There's some things in here that I cannot repeat because it's so cringy, okay? And also the main character, B, she was super annoying. So basically this is about B, and she gets into a NASA program. So it's very sciencey, which was interesting. And it didn't get too much into the science, so it's easy to understand. But there were so many unnecessary names in this book that were so freaking hard to pronounce. I just read right by them. Like 20 plus names that I'm just like, why make that name so difficult in a book? Yes, people out there have hard names in general, and I respect that. That's their name. But I don't want to read names that I can't pronounce. 1 or 2, okay. Everyone's name was so hard to pronounce. Not everyone's. B's last name, can't even pronounce it. A lot of other people can't pronounce it. And also, this was about her like basically telling the story and being obsessed with this old female neuroscientist person, and she kept bringing her up, and I was just like, okay, I get it. Like, she was obsessed with her, so I thought that was a little bit strange. And then throughout the whole book, it's miscommunication. That's one of my main icks, is miscommunication, when things could have been solved with a 5-minute conversation. And I've heard people say that, and I totally agree. Miscommunications in books, I just cannot deal. Throughout the whole book, miscommunication. So even though she's supposed to be really smart, like a scientist with NASA, okay, she couldn't figure out a tiny little thing with Levi throughout the whole book, and it just pissed me off. Then it was super, super, super spicy. Was not expecting that. I was expecting a little bit, okay? Way too spicy for my taste. I almost could not finish it because it was like cringy spicy too, and a little bit weird spicy. It's just not me. Now, if you love spice, okay, but I still think the book sucked besides that. And I'm not trying to be harsh, and I feel like I'm not very harsh with books. But this one, I really don't suggest this book. I could go on and on about this book. The miscommunication, the main thing. The unnecessarily steaminess was just not it for me, and it was just kind of weird, and she just annoyed the crap out of me. She's supposed to be really smart, yet they put her kind of out there as stupid, and I just did not like that at all. Oh my gosh, that book. Now, the last book that I did not finish because I'm DNFing this, okay? I'm filming this on February 27th, which tomorrow is the 28th, and it's the last day of February, so technically I could finish this. And that's why I'm kind of including this in this wrap up. But I'm DNFing it because I really wanted to like this because I haven't heard anyone talk about this. This is The Catch by Alison Fairbrother, and I think this is her debut novel, and I think it's just like literary fiction. It's really boring, and there was a couple weird things in here again that I just like cannot get down with. Like if something makes me feel weird inside while I'm reading a book or watching a movie, I just stop, because I feel like that's the Lord convicting me. Like they were messing with some mediums and I just don't agree with that or like that. I don't know. And this is about a woman, and her dad passes away, and he leaves the really beloved baseball within their family that she used to play with him with, and she thought that he would definitely leave that to her when he passes away, and he ends up leaving it to someone really random. And so she's trying to figure out who this is that he's leaving this baseball to. So very interesting concept, slightly like the inheritance games, but completely different realms of books. But I really was interested to see, and I still almost want to read it to figure out who the heck the baseball goes to, but I can't. It's just really boring, and again, like I said, a little bit weird, rubs me the wrong way. And also there's cheating in here. That's the main reason why I just can't. She's cheating with a married man, and I don't know if that's giving anything away, but I feel like I should say that because most people don't really want to read about that. So I didn't even give this stars. I'm DNFing it. Okay, those are the books that I read. Is this crooked? Those are the books that I read in the month of February. So I feel like there were some really good ones and some not so good ones. Hopefully I'm saving you from some pain of trying to get through books, and I really apologize if some of those were your favorite books and I was hating on them. But again, they're just my opinions, but I feel like I need to share that. Especially with spice level, I feel like there needs to be ratings within books about the spice level. Again, with these cartoon covers, what if like a mom buys this for her teenage daughter thinking it's like a cutesy book, and then there's literally, I can't even repeat some of the scenes that I read. It was just horrid. Now I want to get into some hopefuls for March, and pretty much it's new books that I literally just bought. If you watched my latest video, my ultimate book video, I went book shopping and got some of these books, so this might be a little bit repetitive, but I'm very excited about some of these. So I'm just going to go through these pretty quickly, but the first book that I'm really excited and kind of nervous to read is Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. The reason I'm nervous is because I have read 2 Taylor Jenkins Reid books, actually 1, and I hated it, and the second one I DNF'd. So I sound really harsh in this video, but I swear I'm not very harsh with books. But one of them took me 2 months to get through, and the other one I just didn't really agree with, so I just DNF'd it. And her writing is okay, but sometimes it's boring to me. But I have heard that this one, obviously this is a different writing style. I know it's kind of an interview format, and it is very different than, the concept is different about a band versus the other books that I read by her. So I am excited to read this because I am hoping that I like at least one Taylor Jenkins Reid book. The new show comes out later this week, I believe March 3rd. And so I am actually going to do a reading vlog of this book that will come out a little bit after the show comes out. And I think the show is just 1 episode a week. I think. I may be wrong. But I am going to do a reading vlog of this, so you will see my reactions and how I like this one. And I know most people I've talked to love this book, so I think I will like this one. The next hopeful that I want to get to is A Court of Frost and Starlight. And this is a little novella in the ACOTAR series, and I'm really excited to continue on with that, and I think it'll be a quick read, so I'm excited to read that next. The next book is If You Had Been With Me by Laura Nowlin, or Nolan, I don't know how you say that, but I heard that this one is super sad, and I believe it's YA, so I'm pretty sure I'm gonna enjoy this one a lot, and I'm hoping that it makes me pretty emotional because I like when books do that. I feel like it's very hard for me to get emotional with books. I've said that a lot, but it's really true. In movies, I get emotional pretty easy, but books, I don't usually feel like as attached, so if you can really like tap into that emotion in me of getting teary-eyed, I love that. But I think this is about 2 friends, and they're kind of friends when they're younger, and then they come apart, and then so it's kind of like second chance, I believe. And just look at this cover, okay? It's 2 heart suckers and one of them is smashed. So I know that this is gonna be sad, but I'm excited to read it. Okay, this next one is literally the cutest cover I have ever seen. This is The Flat Share by Beth O'Leary. So again, in my pink books that I read The No Show by her, and I surprisingly liked it a lot. I thought it was gonna be okay, like a 3-star, but I ended up giving it a 4-star. So I'm excited to read another book by her, and this cover is literally, I've said this in another video and on my TikTok, but I can't get over this cover. Probably the prettiest cover I've ever seen, and I really feel like I love these colors. I love the vibe. So cute. But this is about two different people and they decide to share a flat. So this is set in Europe, I believe, but they decide to share a flat, and I believe he works like night shift and she works day shift, so they never really see each other. But of course, I'm sure they fall in love. So I know there's going to be hopefully some depth to this, just like there was in the No Show, and I'm excited to see if I like her writing just as much as I did. I want to start throwing in just literary fiction books, and I believe this may even be historical fiction, so I want to start trying to throw in more books every month that are like that, because I really like literary fiction. And this is Lessons in Chemistry by Bonnie Garmis, and again, I love this cover, love this book. It's hardback, I love hardbacks, and this was one of the New York Times notable books of the year, and I know for Barnes & Noble as well, it was like rated either the top or one of the top books of 2022, so I am excited to read this. This is a little bit about science, but I know that there is a subplot of romance. I'm not going to talk too much about it because I've talked about it in another video, but I'm hoping I can get to this book next month. I always like to throw a little thriller or mystery within my month of reads, so one of the books that I want to read is The Appeal by Janice Hallett. And my cousin read this and she said she really liked this book, and the writing looks really interesting because it has like emails and different things, and I know that this is a murder mystery and you're kind of trying to figure it out as the cops are figuring out. I believe that you're given some of the same information they are, so you're kind of like side by side going through the murder with them. But this is about a theater group, and the professor of this theater group, he has a daughter who is sick, and so he tells the group that, and they want to come together and help, and then I believe someone in the group ends up murdered one day, and so they're kind of trying to figure that out. And so I feel like there's a lot going on, but my cousin loved this book, and it will be my first one by Janice Hallett, so I am excited to read this, and maybe this will be my little murder mystery within this month because that's one of my favorite genres. I don't know how many books I'm going to get to this month, but I really want to start reading the fine print in this series, but I always get a little bit scared to start a series because I don't want to read them back to back, like especially the ACOTAR series. I want to like live it out and, you know, try to make it last as long as possible. And also I need breaks between books, so if I've read a lot of like mystery and thrillers, I need some romance in there, or vice versa, things like that, because I either get bored or I feel like I need something else on my brain. So I feel like this is a good mix between kind of all of that, I believe. This is in the Dreamland Billionaires series, and there's 3 books currently out, and I don't know if there's going to be more than that. I said that in my last video, correct me if I'm wrong. I think they're done with 3, but I'm not sure. But these books are super pretty. I only have the first one because I don't want to buy all 3 if I don't like the first one. But I am excited to get to this. Those are all the books that I'm going to talk about today. I don't know if I'm going to read. Again, those are my hopefuls. Maybe I'll get to more, maybe I'll get to less. I never know. I feel like I usually read about 5 to 6 books a month, and I feel like that's a very good number for me. That's comfortable, but I'm still getting quite a bit read. I feel like if I tried to read more than that, it would just start to kind of be a competition with myself and not like me enjoying it. So I'm trying to find like the balance between all that. So that is it for today's video. I hope I wasn't too negative. I feel like I was pretty harsh on some of those books, but I had some very strong feelings about that. But those are my thoughts. Let me know what you guys thought about any of those books down below. I always love to chit chat with you guys in the comments, and thank you guys if you are subscribed and you watch my videos weekly. I really appreciate it, and I see some of the same people who comment, and it's so cool to see like we're building this little relationship, and I like to see your opinions as well. So thank you for stopping by my channel, and I hope to see you guys